I never thought that one of the scariest experiences of my life would begin on what seemed like such an ordinary morning, and I also never thought that I would ever share it with anyone on camera. But here I am, telling you exactly what happened to me in the Dolomites. I'm from Poland, and I have always loved traveling, hiking, and taking photos. Mountains are something that draw me in every single time, and that trip to Italy was something I had been planning for a long time. I wanted the beauty, the challenge, and the peace that the Dolomites are so famous for. I wanted to breathe the air up there, and also, I'll admit, I wanted to capture beautiful images for myself and for my social media. I never imagined that a simple step off the marked path could change everything, and that I would have to fight for 2 days just to stay alive and be found. The morning had started with excitement. I woke up in a small guest house, ate a quick breakfast, checked my camera gear and my backpack, and set out on the trail. I had researched the hike, and I knew which path I was supposed to follow. It was summer, but even in summer in the Dolomites, the weather can change so quickly. So I had packed a light jacket, a small first aid kit, some water, snacks, and a thermal blanket that I had almost left behind, but decided at the last minute to bring. That little decision, that small rectangle of foil-like material, probably saved my life. The trail was beautiful. Every turn revealed cliffs, green meadows, patches of snow still lingering in shaded places, and the sound of cowbells from far away. I felt so alive, walking, taking pictures, stopping to enjoy the view. I was alone, but I didn't feel afraid. I thought it was safe because it was a well-marked trail and I had seen other hikers earlier in the day. But as the hours went by, the path grew quieter. At one point, I realized I hadn't seen anyone for almost an hour, and I felt like I had the entire mountain to myself. That was when temptation came in, the temptation to get that one perfect photo. There was a rocky ledge a little off the trail. From where I was, it looked like the kind of spot that could give me a view no one else had. I imagined the angle, the composition, the photo of me sitting there with the wide valley behind me. And I thought, it's just a few meters away from the trail. What could possibly happen? So I left the red and white markings behind, stepping onto grass and rocks that had no signs, no footprints. I remember that as I walked, the ground was uneven, and I had to watch my step carefully. I remember telling myself, it's fine. I'll only be here a few minutes. But that's how it started. I took a few photos, and I was right. The view was incredible. I was so caught up in it that I moved around, trying different angles, crouching, leaning, holding my phone and my camera. And then it happened in 1 second. My foot slipped on some loose gravel, and before I even realized what was happening, I fell. I didn't fall far, maybe just a couple of meters down a slope, but the way I landed was terrible. My right ankle twisted underneath me, and I heard this horrible popping sound. The pain shot up my leg instantly, and I screamed. I knew right away it was not just a small sprain. I couldn't stand. I couldn't even move without feeling like knives were stabbing me in the leg. Panic hit me first. I tried to calm down, telling myself to breathe, but the realization came fast. I was off the trail, no one could see me, and when I pulled out my phone, there was no signal. Zero. I stared at the screen, walking with my hands and one leg, holding it up, trying every direction, but nothing. That's when fear really started to take over. I thought, how will anyone know where I am? For a while, I sat there, tears running down my face, clutching my leg. I tried to wrap it with the bandage from my first aid kit, but it was clumsy and painful. I kept thinking, why did I leave the path? Why did I want that stupid photo? Why didn't I tell someone exactly where I was going? But none of that helped. The reality was, I had to survive. I had to stay calm enough to think. The sun was still high then, but I knew it wouldn't last forever. I forced myself to look through my backpack. I had half a liter of water, some protein bars, a light jacket, my camera, my phone, a flashlight, a small power bank, the thermal blanket, and the first aid kit. That was it. Not enough for comfort, but maybe enough to last until someone came. I thought, maybe another hiker will pass by and hear me. I shouted for help, my voice echoing in the mountains. I shouted until my throat was raw, but no one came. As the afternoon turned into evening, the air grew colder. I could feel the chill creeping into my bones. I knew I couldn't just lie there exposed. With my hands, I dragged myself closer to a group of low trees and bushes. Every movement hurt my ankles so badly that I had to bite my lip not to scream, but I kept going. I collected branches and leaves, using my hands like claws. Slowly, I built a small shelter, a crude lean-to against a rock, using branches for structure. It wasn't much, but it gave me a little cover from the wind. Then I unfolded the thermal blanket, wrapping it around myself like a cocoon. That night was one of the longest of my life. I shivered nonstop. I tried to close my eyes, but every sound in the darkness scared me. Rustling leaves, the wind, distant rocks falling. I felt so alone, so fragile. The pain in my ankle throbbed with every heartbeat. I thought about my family, my friends, about how stupid I had been. I cried quietly, afraid that my sobbing would make me lose more energy. My water was limited, so I only took the smallest sips. I forced myself to eat a tiny bite of a protein bar, just enough to keep my strength. When the first light came, I felt like I had survived something impossible. I thought maybe that day someone would find me. I listened constantly for footsteps, for voices, for anything. I shouted again and again, waving my arms when I thought I heard something, but nothing happened. The hours dragged by. The sun warmed me a little, but my mouth was dry, and I could feel my strength fading. I tried to adjust the bandage on my ankle, but it was swollen and ugly, and I didn't dare to move it too much. When I think back, I see how one small choice, stepping off the trail for a photo, almost cost me everything. I learned how quickly safety can disappear, how important it is to tell someone your plans, to stay on marked paths, to carry enough supplies, and to respect the mountains. I also learned how strong we can be when we have no other option but to survive. Now, when I share this story, it isn't to scare anyone away from hiking or traveling. It's to remind people and myself of the respect nature deserves. The mountains are beautiful, but they are also unforgiving. A single mistake can change everything. I will never forget the cold, the silence, the endless hours of waiting. I will never forget the sound of that helicopter and the faces of the rescuers who reached me. So, if you're watching this, please remember my story. Please prepare better than I did. And please never underestimate how quickly things can turn. I survived, but not everyone does. And I promise you, no photo is worth risking your life. I am so lucky to be here, telling you this. So lucky to be alive. And that is my story, how a trip to the Dolomites turned into 48 hours of survival. Thank you for listening, and thank you for remembering that the mountains deserve your respect. Always.